So, a lot of people want to know why I decided to sculpt a tarot deck. And this is actually a kind of complicated story. So, about 12 to 13 years ago, I started reading tarot. I actually had been gifted before then, but I found that this was a really fun tool that made my intuition even stronger. Fast forward many years later and many tarot decks later, I lost my fur baby. Her name was Stella. She was one of my mascots. You can find her picture in her remembrance on my About Me page. And I really was struggling a lot when I got the diagnosis with Stella being sick. I actually had picked up my tarot deck after not using it for quite a few years, actually, and I was having problems in my current corporate job. So I decided to do a career spread, but the content that I was getting was not indicative of my career, and my intuition was telling me something else. And Stella had not been feeling well. She had been taken to the emergency vet and she had been like out of breath. That's the best way I can describe it. And she was coughing. And so I thought maybe she had kennel cough, even though she had been vaccinated. And the vet agreed with that, the emergency vet. And after a couple $1,000 bill, they basically gave her a clean bill of health. And I was, like I mentioned, struggling in my career at the time. So I did a spread, and the spread, what I got was the wheel. I also got the chariot, and I also got the death card, which I know that in my blog post said that death rarely means death, but the other surrounding supporting cards with this told me that Stella was not well. And the information that I received from that was that she would pass and she would be going to the Rainbow Bridge and she had cancer. Fast forward a couple days later, I had to do a follow-up with my vet, and they told me that her gums were very pale and they suggested that I go and get an MRI done of her. And it turned out she actually had lung cancer. She crossed to the Rainbow Bridge on the 5th of April, and that was 3 years ago. Our anniversary is on the 4th, and the 4th of April was a very good day. That's the best way I can describe it. So we had a vet come into our home, and she passed peacefully here underneath cherry blossoms in the backyard. A couple days prior to her passing, I was really struggling because she was my fur baby. I had 2 fur babies at the time, and I really was seeking deeper meditation guidance on how to navigate her crossing. And I was meditating, and I was in a deep meditation, and I saw Stella, and I saw her in a very specific pose with a star. And I did not realize at the time that Stella is star for Italian, and it was that moment that I had inspiration to create a tarot deck. Well, this was 3 years ago, and I didn't actually start creating it until this past year. But over the last couple of years, it's been more and more nudges and about how I need to create this to the point where I could no longer ignore it. So when the Stella card comes out, it'll be released in April. It is a very special card, and I have to give thanks because this would not be possible without her. So I just wanted to provide that background. There's some nuances to this deck which make it different than other deck. Each deck is very special, but I've created some particular cards that bridge areas that I feel that tarot is missing. If you want to find out more about the Tarot Project and get inside information, please join my Patreon page. I have lots of behind the scenes tutorials, and there'll be special things for when the cards launch. I thank you for your time, and until then, wicked blessings.